Well, hi, I'm Bey Logan, and welcome to a ReelEast exclusive as we're going to talk you through some rare footage we found in the archive. This is a film, I've never seen the finished version, but this was a promo film made by Golden Harvest to promote the impending completion of Bruce Lee's Game of Death project. And this was produced in 1976, and the movie itself not till 1978. So this was kind of to whet everybody's appetite. So here we don't have the voiceover anymore, but we see them setting the stage, showing you how Bruce Lee became an international movie sensation and how interest in him is still at a peak worldwide, even 3 years after his untimely passing. So this is like 3 years after the death of Bruce Lee, and saying, look, here we have this footage that the world has never seen of Game of Death. So the first time anybody saw any Game of Death footage would have been in the early Bruce Lee documentary, Bruce Lee, the Man and the Legend. And this was the second time. This would be primarily for buyers, for film distributors, to show them there was still one more Bruce Lee movie. That's shot there with the other two, Get Yun and James Tien, in the background of Dan and Santo fighting. It really was a rare thing to see. I remember when I first saw this footage in the archive, I was really surprised to see Game of Death scenes that I had not watched previously. And so this was really setting the stage so the buyers would know there was another Bruce Lee movie still in the archive. Here's footage from the funeral of Bruce Lee. I assume that the voiceover would have said that before Bruce could finish Game of Death, Say Mong Yao Hei, he passed away, and so we see film here. This is actually not so far away from our ReelEast headquarters here in Cheung that funeral home where Bruce Lee's was laid to rest. And here we are at Golden Harvest Studios back in 1976. Automated door, which would have been like a major technological breakthrough of its time. And here's the writer's room. I suspect all the white guys we see here, probably extras or friends of staff who were brought in. I don't think that's David Chan at the front. And some of the Chinese are definitely production staff of Golden Harvest of this era. So the idea they're conveying is that this crack team was brought together as David Chan on the left, who was a production executive, still around, and on the right, another member, the head of production, Louis Sitt, who was a production executive at Golden Harvest at the time. He's still very much around. And so the other guys I'm not familiar with, and the white guys particularly, were brought in to give the idea that this was going to be an international production. Notice the posters in the background in several shots. All of it available now on ReelEast.com by way of a free plug. This was shot at the Golden Harvest Studios back in the day, and with sound, to find another Bruce Lee. So now here we have the different guys. The idea is that they had thought of how to finish Game of Death without Bruce Lee. They'll have another Bruce Lee. So this is footage, some of it specially shot for this little featurette, and some of it clips sent in, like this guy, sent in from around the world by people who thought they could be the next Bruce Lee. So here this is on the Golden Harvest Studios, and showing some shots of these guys busting some moves, and actually some of them look pretty good. Not much like Bruce Lee, but they actually look like decent martial artists. And this was footage of a Korean contender, as you see him on this temple location. And actually facially from the side and some of the angles, the resemblance to Bruce Lee is quite striking. But then as soon as he takes his shirt off, you kind of think, well, maybe he needs Charles Atlas course or 5 to look like Bruce Lee. Find out Bruce Lee? No, that won't work. Though that is kind of what they did, because they had a lot of doubles in Game of Death. So I don't, you're doing a Bruce Lee film and you're smoking, sir. Come on. Notice the posters in the background. Now, what was on the tape? I'm not sure. Maybe notes by Bruce Lee talking about his aspirations, maybe notes from the writers' conference. Who is this gentleman? I really, lost to the mists of time. I doubt that they ever had an executive at Golden Harvest who was a white guy like this, who was given the authority to figure out how to finish Game of Death. But anyway, that's what they're selling us with here. He's looking at these posters. Our fine array, very familiar to all of us working at ReelEast, and shots of Bruce Lee in his prime. And he's thinking, you know what? Here's a world-class athlete. To finish the film, we need to hire world-class talent to really create a final act to the legacy and the legend that is the great Bruce Lee. So as he's thinking this, we see shots of him, of Bruce Lee, in the other Golden Harvest movies. And it's incredible how well this stuff stands up even today with the advances in technology and all the action movies we've had since Bruce Lee. There's still there's something incredibly mesmerizing about him, and always will be. He's probably as popular now as he's ever been. Shots from Enter the Dragon, and they cut out just before Jackie Chan was going to come in and get hit with the sticks. So these images accompanying voiceover and music, and the guy's like, yes, Eureka, I have it. He decides he must call famous names from around the world, starting with, I guess this is slightly unlikely, he decides that they need to get a football champion to come in and fight opposite Bruce Lee. I guess, you had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who's basketball, so you can have a soccer player as well. So thinking back to comments made during the writers' conference, and he's suddenly freshly, Game of Death will star. This is Samong Yao-hei, the clapperboard for Game of Death. There's Pele with Raymond Chow, Bruce Lee's producer. And apparently they had considered inviting Pele, Steve McQueen, and James Coburn, who've been students of Bruce Lee. Muhammad Ali, who I don't think they ever met, but Bruce was a big admirer of Ali. So they're writing letters to Pele, one to Ali, misspelling his name. Maybe that's why he wasn't in the film. James Coburn and Steve McQueen, none of whom were within striking distance of Game of Death.